What if we're setting up for a Wolverine versus Hulk movie in the MCU? It makes a lot of sense. The Hulk personality needs a good reason to return after his long absence, and Wolverine needs a compelling introduction to the MCU. Are there a series of circumstances that would finally bring these two titans together in a smackdown, no-holds-barred brawl? Well, if you look at Hulk's current relationship with his son Scar, we could be setting up for a tweaked World War Hulk type of scenario that sees Scar go on an epic rampage. Maybe President Ross recruits Wolverine to bring Scar to justice, or maybe Scar disrupts Wolverine's isolation, forcing a fight that would finally cause the Hulk personality to return in epic fashion. So what would happen if Hulk and Wolverine fought in the MCU? Let's discuss. So this battle could be everything that fans could hope for. A brutal, game-changing brawl that pushes both characters to their limits and can be as epic, fun, enjoyable, and destructive as we all want it to be. But in order to have our special battle royale and finally get Hulk to fight Wolverine in the MCU, then there's a lot of steps that need to be done first. Both characters need to go through some dramatic changes to set up this conflict and make it something audiences care about. I mean, sure, if the two fought like, I don't know, tomorrow or something, then I would definitely be first in line with a big tub of popcorn and probably one of those big water ponchos people wear on water rides in order to avoid the blood splatter. But there's a way to make it mean something important. I'm going to talk about Hulk's journey first, then Wolverine's story, and then tie it all together in how this fight would actually go down. So Hulk is in a difficult but interesting place in the MCU. He's been chilling for a long time, mostly on the sidelines, and he's completely lost his edge. With the Hulk personality gone, we just have Banner in Hulk's body, which is probably much safer for everyone, but that's significantly less interesting than the struggle of two very different personalities fighting to share the same body. So the easy road with the Hulk would be to just reboot him, wait until Secret Wars, and then introduce a new version of the character who's a bit more comic accurate, specifically in the comic runs where Bruce and Hulk are hunted mercilessly and just roaming around by themselves. That saves a lot of time in terms of setting our Hulk down a new storyline, but honestly, I don't want that version. I want to see our Hulk continue on this path that he's on, but I want it done in an interesting way. Is that too much to ask? So here's my actual suggestion on how to set Hulk up for his big collision fight with Wolverine. Everything should trace back to Scar. Let me explain. Scar was introduced at the end of She-Hulk, and you would hope has an important role to play throughout the next few years. Just, only if his CGI improves. Like, right now, he kind of looks like if Dominic Toretto became Hulkified by drinking windshield wiping fluid or something, so I hope they switch that up. But the introduction of Scar could be very important. I've been lamenting the fact that we never got a proper Planet Hulk or World War Hulk storyline besides the brief focus on it in Thor Ragnarok. And I think the reason we could never do a World War Hulk is because it's just too destructive and turns our hero into a villain. The MCU can't do that. I mean, I guess they did it with Wanda, but they can't just do it again. But what if Hulk wasn't at the center of World War Hulk? What if it's Scar as the one who's causing ridiculous amounts of collateral damage, and it forces some complicated feelings from everyone involved? We know General Ross is going to be the president now, and if we lean more toward the comics, he's going to hate a rampaging Scar Hulk doing stupid stuff. Ross is supposed to hate Hulk. Maybe Scar does something really bad, goes off the grid, and General Ross decides to mount an enormous manhunt for him, and when everyone fails, he turns to an expert tracker who generally likes to work by himself and be a loner for help. And what's great about this is that it could set the perfect return for the Hulk personality. I imagine there's going to be some difficult growing pains with Smart Hulk and Scar, mainly because Hulk is the father, not Banner. So Banner is going to have to make the decision on whether or not he wants to bring the Hulk personality back and sacrifice the life he built for himself. Maybe in order to save Scar from Wolverine, Bruce has to make the decision to let Hulk out, and that's what sets the stage for an epic clash. Okay, we established what Hulk's motivation would be for fighting Wolverine. Someone is going to take their son away from them, and they are just defending themselves. And that's a pretty easy to see path forward. We wouldn't even technically need another Hulk project to set up this conflict. If the next time we see Banner and Hulk and Scar is in this proposed movie, then that's fine. But it's the other major player in this fight that I'm more worried about. What to do about Wolverine's introduction and backstory? With mutants casually being introduced into the MCU now, it seems like the franchise is going to go with the whole, yeah, they were here the whole time, but just in secret type of explanation. And honestly, overall, I don't think that works for the mutants. I think that's generally a lazy way to explain things. We are in an era with an infinite amount of universes out there, and I always felt like it would be better if the mutants were in their own universe, thus setting up a major conflict between our world and their world. I don't think that's gonna happen now. But if Secret Wars takes place before a Hulk vs. Wolverine movie, then I guess there's still a way to make this explanation work. Maybe Secret Wars will be a soft reset of the whole MCU and merge mutants with our world to better explain why we've never seen them before. Because for real, I cannot handle another Eternal situation where they just shrug and say, yeah, they were here, but never bothered to get involved in any of the major world-ending events that were taking place. Get out of here with that explanation.
What happened?
But okay, with all that said, if there was one mutant who could realistically be around forever but just never got involved because he didn't care that much, then it would be Wolverine. The dude likes to keep to himself most of the time. I could see a situation where they copy part of his previous Fox history and have him fight in all the major wars like the American Civil War, World War I, World War II, and Vietnam before deciding to retire to the wilderness in secret, probably with a kindly woman by his side. Because let's be honest, as much as Wolverine is pretty vicious and feral at times, he's also just a big lover at heart. So let's say that Wolverine is in isolation somewhere. He's given up on the world, maybe after his adamantium infusion, and doesn't want to be part of this whole superhero environment anymore. That's an interesting place to meet Logan in the MCU. It would be very similar to his Fox X-Men movie introduction, but I would rather the MCU takes elements from Hugh Jackman's version of the character rather than trying to blaze a new path forward. And I think even if they copy that characterization, there's still enough differences in the actual story that I'm going to talk about next to set him apart from the Wolverine we're familiar with.
So you can see the future.
So how would I go about making this movie? Well, I would first start by calling it Wolverine vs. Hulk. It's still unclear what exactly the rights issues are with the Incredible Hulk, and if we can't make a solo Hulk movie, then maybe we can just make him basically the second lead like they did in Thor Ragnarok. That worked pretty well for that movie, so why not just do that again? Which means Wolverine would be the central character for this film, and it would mostly be his journey that we follow. That's not a bad thing. Here's how I would frame the movie and how I think the fight would go. Let me know if you agree with me. So in my version, Wolverine is living in isolation. He's tired of the world around him, and he's somewhere that's sort of away from everything. A small town community in the mountains somewhere. Meanwhile, Smart Hulk has taken Scar away from civilization because his outbursts are getting worse. Banner just can't connect with Scar the way he wants to, mainly because it's the Hulk's kid, not Banner's kid, and Scar has a complicated relationship with the man who essentially erased his true father away. Scar wants to be good, but can't control his rage at all. While training in the mountains, Scar's anger with Banner reaches a boiling point and something catastrophic happens. Scar's rage causes the destruction of the small isolated community, and there are innocent casualties. Wolverine is furious and wants to put down this beast for good. President Ross sends a lot of his own special forces to stop Scar, but of course they're no match for both the Scar and Smart Hulk. Ross doesn't want to send any heroes out for this because he knows that most likely they'll side with Smart Hulk, and Ross wants Scar eliminated. He gets word that Wolverine is on his own quest to stop Scar, and that leads to a recruitment. Ross will give Wolverine anything he wants if he stops this threat, playing up the fact that Wolverine is the only one who can stop him due to his healing factor and his unbiased opinion of Hulk. And then the hunt is on. Hulk and Scar go on the run and try to get off the grid, but they are hunted at every turn by Wolverine. When it finally comes to their big showdown, Wolverine is able to overpower Scar and almost takes him down for good, but here is Banner's big moment. He knows that he can't beat Wolverine, but in order to save Scar, he begs and pleads for the Hulk to finally come out and revert them back to how they were before their fusion. He essentially gives up his great life in order to save Scar. Then, boom, Hulk is back, and what follows is the epic battle that we all want to see. Hulk smashes, Wolverine slashes. These two angry heroes just slowly get more and more ferocious, and they try to tear each other apart. Yes, the tricky part about this movie is that we know that they aren't going to eliminate each other. How do you make this conflict interesting when you know that neither side will win? Well, they need to take a page out of Captain America's Civil War's book and have both characters fundamentally changed from their encounter. Obviously, Banner learns that he can't keep Hulk suppressed if he wants what is best for Scar, so what would Wolverine learn? Well, I think in the end, Wolverine wouldn't want to cut off Scar's head once he knows the whole story. He knows that Scar is an angry kid who needs a good role model in his life, rather than just deciding to execute him. It would convince Logan to rejoin society to help it, rather than sit on the sidelines, and then we have our full-fledged Wolverine in the MCU. Wolverine and Hulk have great battles because they're both so similar and yet so different. Plus, Wolverine's healing ability makes it not such a one-sided fight. But personality-wise, they have enough commonality where putting them together is interesting. Both of them are angry loners who essentially just want to be left alone, and that's why this would be such an interesting and amazing movie. But what do you think?
Gotcha.
How would you set up a Hulk versus Wolverine fight in the MCU? Do you have a clear winner? Would one hero just beat the ever-loving snot out of the other? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching CBR. See you next time.